Welcome to Legal Tech Live. We are here tonight with Hailey Lennon. Hailey Lennon is a partner at Anderson Kill. She's a shareholder in Anderson Kill's Legal Technology. Legal Technology, that's our show. Anderson Kill's Technology, Media, and Distributed Systems Group. She's based in California and affiliated with Anderson Kill's Los Angeles office. Prior to joining Anderson Kill, Hailey was a regulatory counsel at leading cryptocurrency platforms Coinbase and bitFlyer. At Coinbase, Hailey helped oversee regulatory relationships with the SEC, CFTC, OFAC, and state regulators. And you've also worked with the New York Department of Financial Services to obtain approvals for new products, services, and digital assets, managed the company's Bit License and Trust Company supervisory. Man, you have done this all.
I don't know where you got that bio. It's too long.
It's on your law firm website.
They like to brag about me.
Yeah.
No, I've been in the space a long time and I love it. And I'm happy. Thanks for having me on your show. Sorry again for being tardy to the party.
That's all right. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we got caught up. So Hailey came on the show. So first of all, I don't even know how I came across Hailey other than to say I found her through Twitter at one point, and she was then on Twitter. I found out that she was hugely entertaining, and which everybody who knows me knows that that's what I'm really into. If you can make me laugh, that's really all I care about. And so that and on top of that, you're a exceptional professional and knowledgeable in this space, which I was trying to learn. This is probably over a year ago now. And so I'm just happy you're here. And
thanks.
You've been in the space, you say a long time, but the space is relatively young. So how long have you been in the space? Is this right out of law school?
So I graduated law school and I thought I wanted to go into like big law, and I started as a commercial litigation attorney at Gordon and Reese for 1 year, and I thought that was like I had made it, and I was like, this sucks. This is the worst. I personally hated it. I had like social anxiety about being in the courtroom, and I feel like the dynamic between partners and associates traditionally has been kind of shitty. And so I was like, I want to go in-house. And people were like, no companies want someone as young as you to be an in-house attorney. But I found this like very small company in San Diego that did traditional currency exchange. And that's sort of what started to lead me down into like the anti-money laundering and money transmitter laws, and sort of the rest is history. But I got into the crypto industry I guess it was my 3rd year as an attorney.
Okay.
Pretty quickly after that.
And then you were in-house at Coinbase and bitFlyer, I think was the name of it. What is a role for an in-house attorney in such a nascent industry? What is it? Very much in-house counsel, general counsel type of work, or I guess Coinbase maybe was a bigger operation, so you're doing a variety of things. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I think I had like kind of 3 phases of my in-house role. So when I first joined the crypto space, it was Silvergate Bank, which is in La Jolla. They bank a lot of the large crypto companies. And there, my role, they really wanted me to just help do due diligence on companies that wanted a bank account at Silvergate Bank. So my role was more like sort of being the no person to the business development guy and saying, okay, this exchange wants a bank account. This is why we should say yes. This company wants a bank account. This is why we should say no. But then right after that, I was there for 2.5 years and then joined bitFlyer. And what I've focused my in-house career on has been regulatory and policy work. And so what that looks like day to day is like interacting with regulators, getting licenses, keeping regulators happy. So sort of, so bitFlyer is the largest exchange out of Tokyo, Japan. I call it the Coinbase of Japan, because if you go to Japan, bitFlyer is like the household name. And they wanted to expand into the US, but they were smart and they knew that that would take a lot of legal effort to get all the licenses and the bit license. So that was my role for like a year and a half, was getting that. And then at Coinbase, you kind of pointed out, like, that is a huge, I mean, they have about I don't know what they have now. At the time, they had about 1,000 employees. And, you know, I was part of this like 35-person legal team.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's really
Okay.
like
So,
an in-house legal, I mean, it's like a law firm, but in-house.
right.
But my role was just working with all the regulatory agencies to make sure that we were talking with them with the different like products and services we were rolling out, the different coins, the crypto rating council, and just sort of getting regulatory approval, or if you can't get approval, like some sort of nod to know that it's not going to blow up in your face.
Okay. And I think that, our audience is generally lawyers and legal tech startups, and probably what most people would understand as Web 2 application. Those in the crypto space would call mostly Web 2 SaaS products,
Mhm,
that type of stuff.
mhm.
But crypto regulations are kind of a basket full of acronym agencies that, and there's no real law. So can you give us like a crypto 101? And I promise we'll get to Shatner in a while.
I don't want to get there. No, yeah. So first off, I like that this is actually the first like webinar podcast that I haven't had like questions up front. And I do think it makes it a little scarier, but also more organic. So I appreciate that. So yeah, crypto 101, let me think. So the way I break it down is definitely like, when you first start thinking about how this space is regulated, you look at the state versus the federal.
Okay.
Um, and so on the state level, like I said, a lot of exchanges and administrators that are involved in the crypto space have to have money transmitter licenses in every state they operate in. There's about 10 states, including California, that are considered no action states. And so
Hmm.
those are states where like a Coinbase or a Gemini doesn't need to have a money transmitter license,
Oh, okay.
um, which is interesting, right? California is like a very big market.
And usually heavily
Right.
regulated.
Yep. So till today, and hopefully moving forward for a while, California, what a no action state means is they've said, we wrote our money transmitter license definitions, and we weren't thinking about cryptocurrency. We were really thinking about fiat government backed dollars. And so you exchanging dollars for Bitcoin and vice versa isn't money transmission. So
Oh,
in those 10 states, like, you're good to go. Like, you could go launch an exchange in those 10 states after. I always recommend to clients that you go get a no action letter. So you send an email or a letter to that state and say, this is how we understand it, and they confirm. But anyway, so state level money transmitter licenses or no action,
good. Or no action letters. Okay, that's good.
or New York. So there's the New York bit license,
Okay.
where New York has a money transmitter license, but instead they decided to like take it one step further and actually write a license specifically about cryptocurrency and the cybersecurity issues that impact the space. And so there's certain license requirements for a Coinbase. I'll just be using Coinbase and Gemini as an
Perfect.
example. I don't
Good
want to have
example.
to worry about who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
So
and Coinbase is publicly traded now, so it feels
yeah,
like knowledgeable or known enough that people
yeah,
can associate with that.
yeah. So if you're going to use an exchange, you can do your due diligence, use eToro, use Bittrex, whoever, but I'm just using that to make it easy. But anyway, so those type of companies also get the bit license.
Okay.
So I don't know how long I've been talking, but that's just the state level.
That's the state level. That's okay. I mean, this is 101
Yep.
because as I was doing my research, I mean, I've been playing in the space for a little over a year now,
Mhm.
and you hear SEC and FinCEN and CFTC and in a variety. So,
Yep. Yeah.
but
So
I always, and it's so silly in the legal world, it's almost always state. So, and I never think of state by state, except we constantly hear about Wyoming.
yeah. Yeah. So that's actually like probably like level 2.0 that we could
Okay.
cover too. But so just a typical company like that, then on the federal level, there's 5 or 6 regulators. So FinCEN covers anti-money laundering and the Bank Secrecy Act. If you're a money services business, which means you're an exchange or dealing with the sort of exchange of monetary value, you need to know who your customers are, file suspicious activity reports, that sort of thing. I also obviously, so OFAC I would say is the second biggest, or
Okay.
maybe one of the top. So that's pretty much OFAC.
Is that
Control.
foreign affairs? Is that what they are?
Yeah, so it's foreign asset control.
Foreign
So
asset
yeah,
control.
so the idea behind that is like there are people, companies, ships, vessels, and now even cryptocurrency wallets that are considered tied to um, like terrorist organizations. So if you facilitate a transaction on behalf of anybody, they cannot be on the OFAC list. So the OFAC list, the SDN list, is actually a designated list of just people, companies, anything
We
tied to a terrorist organization.
we see that in like we put members of Iranian government, I believe, on that list as in things like that we've designated as connected to terrorism.
Yep, and that actually may have been the first time that wallet addresses were also listed on the OFAC list. And like, fast forward, that was in like 2018. You fast forward a few years, and that hasn't actually become that big of a thing. But the day that OFAC actually added wallet addresses to the SDN list, exchanges were sort of grappling with, oh, now we have wallet addresses that actually need to be blacklisted the moment they're added to the terrorist list.
So the digital wallet being treated just like a bank account that could be blacklisted.
Yeah, or a name, or yeah, a name or a company even. So that's FinCEN, OFAC. IRS maybe doesn't impact companies as much, but obviously they do capital gains taxation on any capital gains that you're experiencing with your cryptocurrency. The fourth and fifth, and I think I can't read the chat, but I think I saw something. I saw the word ICO.
Yeah, we're going to get into we do take questions. This is live,
Cool.
so we do take some questions from. But
Yeah.
but go ahead with your because we
Yeah.
actually have it. Excuse me, in the legal tech community over on Facebook. Cami and Chris are watching, and Cami, a lawyer with a startup, said she really needed this 101.
Oh, cool.
She took a compliance and anti-money laundering class 3 years ago, and crypto wasn't even mentioned then. So
Sure,
please continue, and
Yep.
for your questions, folks, just pile them up, and we'll try and get to as many as we can. But I do want to go through kind of the 101 here.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, the reason I noticed the ICO question is like, then you get to this question of like, what token projects can a company be involved in, and what tokens can exchanges list?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that question becomes important is that the SEC has said that some cryptocurrency projects, especially ICOs, are secure.
Which is an initial crypto or coin offering.
Yeah. Sounds a lot like an IPO.
Right.
And if it, at my firm, our stance is if it looks like an IPO, it operates as an IPO, even if there's like a wink and a nudge behind the scenes, you don't want to risk that and try to get clever with it. So, in my view, like a lot of the projects out there right now are securities offerings. and unregistered at that. And, I think there's been sort of a learning curve with that, and we can return to that
Sure.
topic some. But so the SEC has the Howie test. It's a 4-prong test that pretty much is what determines if a token is an investment contract, and if it falls within that 4-prong test, then it is a security and needs to be registered as such with the SEC.
Right.
And then
you'll hear that a lot. You can look it up. Is it a Supreme Court case? I think it is, or
yep.
a 1930s case, if I remember, about the four.
It's very old. The SEC has, I think, probably gotten a lot of shit for their the fact that this is a really old case and they're just trying to fit it into this. They've definitely put out some like guidance and framework that could help us figure out how to better determine the ways in which cryptocurrency fits into the framework. But at the end of the day, like, I think I feel like a broken record saying that, like, clarification would be good. It would help the industry.
Right.
So there's that. And then on the other side of I was going to say coin or token, is the CFTC, and the CFTC regulates commodities. So if something isn't a security, it's then viewed as a commodity. So a good example of that is Bitcoin. The SEC has not been very definitive about something not being a security, but Bitcoin's an example of one they have said, it's sufficiently decentralized, blah, 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 it doesn't fail this test. And so, but then the CFTC says, so that means it's a commodity, and we want to regulate the markets. We want to ensure that there's not market manipulation. We, want to make sure that the price isn't being manipulated, that sort of thing.
And the CFTC has done that. Has it been both Bitcoin and Ethereum that they've kind of said these are commodities?
Yeah. There's those two, and then I heard one other one the other day that I actually wasn't that aware of. But the further away we get from Bitcoin, I think the less likely regulators are, or the less willing regulators are to actually say something definitive. They're sort of like, that's probably not a security, or it probably is.
Right.
But for the most part, like, if you really think about it, projects started seeing what Bitcoin and Ethereum and maybe a few others were able to accomplish, and the amount of money they were able to raise.
Right.
And then you're getting into that area of securities law, and that's fine. It's costly, it's expensive to comply with, but I don't think, it's sort of my personal opinion that it's hard to get away from that. If at the end of the day, what you're wanting is a token that might appreciate in value that you can use to fund your project, that's fundraising. That's
right.
So.
Yeah. And so isn't there some phrase called, and this may go into Alex's question. Maybe I'll pull in Alex's question here. He says, how do you see the anti-money laundering know your customer requirements being applied into DeFi platforms? And I guess part of my question here is there's some topic about being sufficiently decentralized, right? And somehow that means you're not a security if you're sufficiently decentralized. Can you go into that? And then maybe we'll take Alex's question after that.
Yeah, I mean, so I think there's two topics going on. So one is to not be a security under the SEC, you'd have to be sufficiently decentralized. And I think one of the questions in the chat was, why are ICOs not available to US citizens?
Right.
So it's this idea that in the US, if a company is subject to US regulation, they need to comply with those. And in the US, what the SEC says is, so I won't recite the 4 prongs of the
Sure,
house.
no need.
The idea is that if a company is making efforts to create something that then increases in value because of their efforts, and then they're able to use that increased value and funding to continue their efforts, then that is an investment contract.
Okay.
And so something like, this is sort of what we're seeing with like the Ripple lawsuit is like, I think the SEC is saying, well, you're not, I mean, I can point to you, I can point to this company, I can point to these people and say, you marketed this way, you're connected to the project in this way, you benefited in this way, like you're right here.
Right.
It sounds like the question you mentioned also is pertaining to DeFi and anti-money laundering,
Mm-hmm.
decentralization, which it's a little different, but it's the same idea. Like if you can like actually not have anyone to point to and no one to do KY, like know your customer and those transaction monitoring, then sure, maybe if you're actually just like putting software out there that someone can benefit from and like do things with, then yeah, maybe they're sufficiently decentralized where they can't do they don't need to, and they don't
I'm
have the
thinking
ability.
of my early onboarding came through something like a Uniswap or one of those kind of decentralized exchanges. And you don't have to mention any projects that you may be working with or anything like that, but that has been my experience as are they sufficiently kind of decentralized?
And I
Uh,
don't think I don't think we're seeing many projects that are.
Interesting.
I don't. And I think that I think we've seen projects that have said that they were sort of either DeFi or, oh, we're not touching USD, we just exchange crypto to crypto. And I think the regulators like take a little bit of time to catch on, but eventually I think regulators say, don't get clever here. I mean, if what you're really doing is facilitating an exchange, then you're an exchange. And like,
Mhm.
don't ask me, who could do KYC. You could do. You're right here. But
Mhm.
if a regulator really is like, okay, it's decentralized, there's no one to sort of talk to, then there's ways in which there. So don't get me wrong. There's ways in which software or a website can be sort of put out into circulation, and it can be a platform that individuals use, and it really is decentralized. Like you don't need to control like free speech or things that are in like, in reason things that go on the site. But
Okay.
it's a fine line.
But you think there's it almost like that piercing the corporate veil stuff from back into the day, like it seems close, or from corporations class. It's like,
Yeah.
well, you really are you're operating this. Your labs is operating this. That, or at least that's how I'm kind of
Yeah.
putting the
No,
the building blocks together there.
I think that's fair. Like I mean, anything with law and regulatory, there is a bit of being clever, right? Like I'm not saying that there's never like figuring out solutions to ways for things to work, but if at the end of the day, like there's really no difference between a wink and a nod and a IPO, like then like the policy reasons behind those laws are still there. And so the
Hmm.
regulator is going to point to them and say, you can't get around that just because you're innovative.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Alex says good info, and he thanks you for that. Alan Rodriguez is over in the Facebook chat, and he goes, and this is probably fun because for you, he says he's not looking for investment advice. Alan's a good friend of the show,
Okay.
but he's curious what your favorite coins are for investment. And if and Alan's obviously not on Twitter with us, or he would have this answer.
Clearly not. Yeah. On Twitter, I'm Hailey Lennon BTC, so I don't make any qualms about what I like. But yeah, I mean, I've made a point of just only getting involved in projects I am excited about personally. Like years ago, invested in, I like Zcash a lot, Basic Attention Token. Those were two projects that I thought kind of like were actually taking a step in a cool direction. I just had a friend convinced me to buy Solana because he's excited in the project. But I don't know. I just like Bitcoin. Just
go check out Hailey. It's Hailey Lennon BTC at Hailey Lennon BTC. And you will get real quickly, Alan, you will find out that I even said maybe I could convince her to buy Ethereum on the show, and she refused it. So that'll tell you what her feelings are on that. I did have a question come in from somebody else. They come in from everywhere. It was
yeah. So how does this work? Because I was like, oh, there's 5 people on our Zoom.
There's 5 people in the Zoom, and I'm streaming to the legal tech community on Facebook.
Oh,
yeah, and you can join that if you're interested. It is a legal tech specific community. It's a closed group, but this one came through text by somebody who couldn't be here tonight and wanted to be here. Hannah asks, I'd love to hear your thoughts on where crypto will be in 10 years, because we see lots of discussion about, and we had just recently Hester Peirce's safe harbor initiative, essentially. And so Hannah, who's in legal and technology and venture capital, was wondering where you think it might be in 10 years. And then there's a couple of additional parts to this question.
Yeah. I love the question. I feel like I was funny when you said that. I was like, I feel like I answered this 5 years ago, and I wonder what I said. Because I actually I'm a very big believer that we actually have no idea where this is going. I mean, if I knew where this is going, I would be rich as fuck. And
you can say that on this podcast.
I am. I actually have a question for Nick. Where's your drink? Because you said this is a happy hour show.
Yeah, and I'm still in the office, so my drink is still bubble water at this point. Yeah.
Where do I think? So I think it's going a bunch of ways. So I mean, I think that sorry, I'm starting to see some of the comments. They're funny. So I mean, I definitely think that Bitcoin will still be around. And actually, I don't personally invest in Ethereum, but I think some of the things that are being built on Ethereum have potential. I think the smart contracts and those sort of things, some NFTs have potential. So I think that there'll be certain projects we know today that'll still be around in 10 years. Maybe Bitcoin will be more of an OG collector's edition that you make money off of holding. I'm not sure that how do I say this? I don't think that Bitcoin will actually become the global reserve or what people around the globe use. And I think in our lifetime and in the next 10 years, we'll start seeing different jurisdictions create digitized dollars or pesos or euros. But I think that what makes the reason I love Bitcoin is the potential for it, the what it's created and what it's allowed us to get away from, traditional finance and centralized banking systems. And I think that wherever it goes, it'll be based on that technology. Mm-hmm. So my concept is I sort of have respect for that sort of baseline.
Yeah, I like that. And of course, Hannah then asked, are you Bitcoin or ETH maximalist? And we've sort of answered that. But she asked this other question, two-parter here. Hmm. Your thoughts on women in crypto, and because it is a male heavy space, and how are we onboarding more women to the space? I know you used to lead, as I recall, you're in the Bay Area most of the time, right? In normal times, and you used to have a women in crypto dinner that you would do. Mm-hmm. How are we making inroads into bringing more women on board in the space?
Yeah, I actually love this question. And I think that early on, people would women would be asked that and they'd be like, don't pay attention to my gender, I'm just part of the panel. But actually, I think it's a pretty cool thing to talk about. I mean, so what I'll say is that it depends on where you start your career, but like I started in traditional law firm world, and compared to that, I feel like the crypto space is actually pretty open. I don't feel like that same like good old boys club where it's hard to sort of join, like be a part of, and if you don't golf or you don't like talk sports, then you like we all have like a common like gender neutral interest.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think that just like my approach has been like being very inclusive with women who are interested in this space. I have like best friends that I've like recently even like helped start buying Bitcoin and tried to like tweet about that. And like, you know, I think like the more of a voice or the bigger the platform you have, the more responsibility you have to sort of push that forward. But yeah, I mean, like you said, in normal times in San Francisco, like I loved hosting the women in crypto events. Like some months it would be like, I think it was every 2 weeks maybe, and like some weeks it would be like 4 to 6 women, and then like one week it was like 20, and
Oh,
it was just always
wow.
yeah, it just like kind of fluctuated, which made planning harder. But I'm actually co-hosting a women in Bitcoin brunch in Miami. So if Hannah or anyone listening is interested in joining female wise, I'd love to include you all. And yeah, I just think, I don't know, I think that like finding the right balance between focusing on inclusion, but also like having men and women like talk Bitcoin and like not making the gender things a divisive thing is really important. And you know, some of the best mentors I've had have been men, some have been women, like just sort of just look for the people that are willing to take you under their wing. And that's
Yeah, that's great. And her kind of last, we don't know if you've seen any legal tech startups, crypto startups, but maybe, and I certainly don't want you talking about any of your clientele or anything like that, but have you come across any really early stage stuff and maybe in that kind of legal crossover crypto space? Anybody doing anything exciting?
you know, probably not as much as I would hope. Like, I mean, I think like a year or two, I started hearing a lot more about this idea of like our identity being on the blockchain and like how that could be incorporated into like legal tech. But, you know, I'd actually be interested in like what the term legal tech sort of encompasses. But, you know,
It's pretty
so
wide. It's pretty
yeah.
wide. Anything
Yeah,
where tech and legal kind of connect, it's pretty wide.
I feel like, I mean, when I have done panels and like research on blockchain technology, the things that excite me is like how insane it is that all the IP records are like stored in a centralized database with like that agency, um, and even how like, you know, different like medical records or things like that. So I think there's ways in which like different databases could be involved on the blockchain. But same as the question of like where will stuff be in 10 years, like
Hmm.
I don't think we've like scratched the surface of where it can go. And it's kind of a lame answer because like, well, yeah, but like I don't think that we're going to be like tracking food on the blockchain, but I think the blockchain is going to fix some things that right now is very paper heavy or like documentation heavy.
Yeah, it seems to be where a lot of the development's happening right now. Alex has got a great comment in here, and it's something that came up. I don't know, back in January, I saw the first post about it. Have you heard anything about the initial litigation offerings or litigation finance ILOs?
I haven't really.
Okay.
I thought we were talking about the Maxi Queen comment.
No, no, that he also stands a Maxi Queen, and that is,
Uh,
don't we
uh,
all? Don't we all? Yeah,
uh,
there's I'll send you one of the posts I saw about it. I think there's only been a couple of use cases on this litigation financing thing where they, it's almost like an ICO to finance a litigation. It was
I
kind of
feel like we
interesting.
should just get away from the ICO.
Yeah,
Or
well, yeah, that's why they called it an ILO, I guess. But it seems like an interesting idea because it is tied to the case, right? And
so
we're
it's like
doing
financing of a
of a
litigation.
lawsuit, yeah, just like existing litigation financing, just through a token offering.
Interesting.
So kind of interesting.
Hmm.
David says Web3 will eliminate censorship. So what kind of projects are you excited about? Take you out of your lawyerly position and you're meeting with people all over. You just had, I think you just had dinner or drinks or something with somebody from Loli, I believe, who I said, yeah, bring her on. Let's if she's in your hotel room with you. We've had so many people show up on the show and just hang out. So yeah, I thought,
Yeah.
well, it's about legal, but if she's in the room with you, just bring
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. And
Um,
so, yeah, I mean, so I was with Audrey from Loli, and like good friend of mine, and I actually like, I'll first say that I think it's important to not talk about clients or
yeah,
people you invest in. And so neither of those apply to Loli. I actually am just a personal like fan of that team and project. So totally worth mentioning them. Like I think that when a friend or someone comes to me and says, hey, I don't have a lot of disposable income, I don't have a lot of money, but I want to get into Bitcoin, I love to be able to point them places. So, like I always mention Coinbase Earn, which is like how you can watch videos and earn free Bitcoin. It's pretty minimal amount. But Loli, you can like earn like Bitcoin back on a lot of online purchases. Like I actually had kind of stopped keeping track of like all the partnerships they had, and then I logged in a week or two ago. And like you can just keep scrolling. I mean, pretty much anything that you would buy online, if you go through Loli, you'll get some Bitcoin back. Um,
this is like a cashback sort of
yeah,
option that you would get from your Discover card, only now it's in Bitcoin.
yeah, and it like I think they even have. I don't use it, but I think they have like a Google. What's the word for it? Like where it kind of attaches to your Google, and so when you go to a website, it pops up as like a.
Oh, yeah,
It's,
like a Pixel,
yeah,
like a Facebook Pixel or a Google Pixel.
so
Oh,
it kind
that's
of.
interesting.
But I mean, I don't know. So I'm on the side of regulatory. I have a few clients that I've helped in terms of like some of the more federal, like OCC banking charters that are happening.
Hmm.
Um, there's been some news lately about this idea of like to me, it would be really, really cool if a bank can hold your dollars, can let you exchange it for crypto when you want, and they can hold your crypto all under one roof. Um,
Which,
now, yeah.
which actually comes up. Hussein's got a question for us in the Facebook.
Oh,
He said, and it kind of goes right into that. How will the establishment of licensed Bitcoin banks,
hmm,
uh, or something like I don't want to mention any names because I don't know,
you
but I
can
guess
read it.
Avanti Financial Group is a Wyoming bank that serves compliant bridge between U.S. dollar payments and digital assets. So kind of you sounded like you were actually touching on this. So
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that's a cool segue. And for everyone watching, I can only see the a certain chat.
she can only see the Zoom chat, so I have to read the
But it's
Facebook
but
chat.
that's kind of cool because it's all like organic. So yeah. So actually, like this goes back to what I was saying about sort of there being like a Bitcoin regulation like 2.0 that like um I would say over the last like year and a half, companies have all of a sudden been able to like have different options about either getting a federally chartered bank. They can either go for a trust charter, which is just like holding cryptocurrency, or a full national bank charter, which would allow you to sort of do it all. Avanti, who you mentioned, has the Wyoming um, bank charter. Kraken and maybe one or two others also have it. And so, yeah, I mean, so what's cool is like in my role is like companies come to me and ask, hey, we want to do this or we want to do that. And for a long, like years ago, lawyers were probably just like, okay, yeah, we'll get 50 state licenses and the bit license, and we'll charge you $500,000 and let's go. But what's neat is like now my role can actually sort of like weigh the pro and cons. Like, do you want to exchange Bitcoin, or is your business model more of just a trust? If it's a trust, like you can get a South Dakota trust or a New York trust or an OCC trust charter. Do you want to be closer to a traditional financial institution? You can get like the, special depository institution. You can get an OCC full charter. You can go the state by state route. So, so I worked at Coinbase with Brian Brooks. He became the head of the Office of Comptroller of the Currency, and he really helped propel a lot of like the guidance coming out of the OCC. I personally just think that the idea of it all being under one roof is a really powerful goal that I'm personally working towards. What exactly was the question?
Yeah, he said, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering this, Hussein, but how will the establishment of that kind of bridge compliance between US dollar payments and digital assets? I think you're saying that it will bridge that, because it's kind of onboarding the digital assets to our existing banking system is what you think is kind of where it's going, if I'm understanding.
Yeah, I agree with, you're right. And I guess like the other thing that I haven't mentioned is like, I started my career at Silvergate Bank, where a Coinbase or a Gemini couldn't even get a bank account to pay rent or to pay salary, let alone a trading account to like hold customers' dollars. And so for like the OCC to be telling all the banks, like, big name banks haven't jumped into it yet, but I think they will. And so when you can log in a year or two, and I'm confident that this will happen, when you can log into Bank of America or Chase Bank and you can see your dollar deposits and your cryptocurrency holdings, and they're all held under one roof. And also that you don't have to like transfer money to a Coinbase or Gemini and wait 3 to 5 business days for the wire to go through. It's all there. I just think that that's the direction we're heading. And then the next step is like, what is really the difference between cryptocurrency and fiat government backed? I mean, and what does even government backed mean? So we're like, I kind of feel like we have all these lines and we just have like an eraser and we're just like blurring them all. We're just like, let's go.
I like that. So we've had you on for about, well, I mean, it would have been longer at this point, but you were late. So no, but I don't want to keep you, because
I literally left Aubrey at this nice French restaurant with a glass of red wine, and I was like, you have to drink my red wine. I have to go. I'm still gonna be late, but so hopefully she's still there. I was like, you should watch this, because I'm gonna come running into my room.
And I'm glad you. And I don't know if you're headed back to the dinner afterwards, or is it no? Okay, bad. Yeah. So I do want to touch on, because I told you this is supposed to be fun, and your Twitter is just on fire, and it's blown up into, like, you've become Twitter famous just for I think for having fun. What do you think grabbed it? Was it got you the Twitter attention and in the fancy check mark and all that? Do you think it was a combination of just having fun and being in the crypto space, or how did that all work for you?
Yeah, it's actually a good question. It's actually one that me and Aubrey were talking about tonight, because she's the head of marketing at Loli, and she was like, you're very good at like marketing yourself. And I don't know, I think like, this is pretty real, but in person I don't have much of a filter. I have a social filter where I know to not piss someone off and to bite my tongue, but like I kind of just say what I think, and sometimes I'll just catch myself like push submit and post something, and then I'm like, what did I even just say? Like it's literally just what my brain like thinks. So I think that like part of it's like the authenticity maybe, but yeah, I mean, I think that like whatever you're passionate about, like embracing that is really helpful. I like traveling, I like food, I like cooking, I like humor, I like Bitcoin. So I just include all of that in what I say. And that doesn't always mean it's always well received. Like sometimes I piss people off and I'm like, ugh, and it doesn't feel very good. But I also will say, and this is something I've been like trying to talk to my friends and even my mom's like a very sweet Southern woman who doesn't like to offend people. Like, mom, as long as you really don't like cross a line, people forget. Like
Yeah.
if people get upset about something I say on Twitter, like it becomes old news like the next day, no matter how big of a thing it seems. So I don't know. I feel like
Yeah.
just be yourself.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think probably some of the self-deprecating humor I appreciate, and the joking, it certainly caught my attention, uh,
Thanks.
because it was fun. It's like here we are, somebody in the legal industry actually having a good time, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's just too stodgy, and
Yeah.
it drives me nuts. So I think that's what one of the things that I find really appealing about it. And you
Thanks.
share stuff that's educational. I mean, you're sharing your Forbes articles and so forth. But
Thanks.
I
Yeah.
think it's funny that it's even become some of them controversial. Like,
Yeah.
have you seen the rest of the stream? Go back and look. Like a lot of it is stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes the jokes aren't going to land.
Yeah.
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 So
Thank you.
Hailey, where can people find you if they want to be in touch afterwards? I think we just covered that in this little last segment here, but
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like I like started my career, I feel like using LinkedIn a lot, and now I just almost find it like unusable. I try to like check my messages on there once a month, and it's just like I miss a lot of things, and I feel sad about it, like people looking for like mentorship or like wanting to talk. I mean, I find Twitter a lot more just it's almost like a text message, but you can also see who people are and their connections. So
yep.
definitely like Twitter, Hailey Lennon BTC. I work at Anderson Kill. I'm a partner there and I've been there 6 months. So definitely like on their website, we have a really cool team. Like sometime you need to have Stephen Pally and Preston Byrne on here maybe together because I don't know if you have before
I
actually.
have not had them on, but I've listened to Preston, or I had listened to Preston. He's quite entertaining as well. I think I follow his Twitter, but I listened
Yeah.
to him. I've been in a couple of conversations with him on Clubhouse,
Yep.
and he's there's some beaver story that I don't understand, but it's one of those inside jokes, I think, and it's his picture is actually like a beaver,
Marmot.
a marmot. Okay.
I
And
don't know. It's an inside joke that he has with himself, but
that he has with himself. Yeah, but quite entertaining, I will say.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, so you can find her. The website is andersonkill.com, and Hailey Lennon BTC. That's HaileyLennon BTC on Twitter. You cannot miss her. It's rapid fire tweets is what I would call them. Thank you, Hailey. I don't want to keep you all night. You've got a train back to New York again tomorrow, right?
it's been crazy. Yeah, I landed. Yeah, it's been a crazy week, and
It's
I
been,
actually I fly back to not so I'm now in Santa Barbara most
oh,
of the
okay.
time where family is, but tomorrow or Friday I fly to San Francisco and then drive with my dog that I'm picking up there to Santa Barbara. So this
Oh,
week is just
okay.
like,
So my little brother is in Santa Barbara and was on the
well,
phone
then
with
you'll have to
him.
come visit.
Yeah, I'll have to come visit. And I was on the phone with him today while he was telling me about he's learning this stuff, and he's I'm doing the Coinbase learn and
Oh,
or the
well,
Coinbase earn.
yeah. I mean, I'd be happy to grab a coffee with him or something in Santa
Yeah,
Barbara.
I'll let him know. I'll let him know.
Where
So
are you based?
I'm Northern California in the Central
Okay.
Valley. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Cool.
just outside of about 90 minutes from San Francisco.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Well,
It's a beautiful place.
don't disappear when we stop recording. Next week, folks, we want to thank Hailey Lennon, BTC, for being here tonight. Next week, we'll be back with Jason Bomig, CEO and co-founder of Ironclad. So if you have questions about how to become a unicorn in the legal tech space, join us next week. And we will see you then. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Hussein, Alan, Alex, David, Patrick, Rick. Thank you. And Kristen. Talk to you all soon.